Ahoy there, me hearties. This be Captain Silverhook, and you're listening to the Two Old Pirates podcast. Set sail for an open sea of stories, tales, and some really crazy stuff. I expect you to like and subscribe, lest you be walking the plank.
Hey, welcome to the Two Old Pirates. This is podcast 38. Eric,
Vinny,
and we're back with a new episode. Hopefully that you'll enjoy this. Sorry that we haven't been able to get to you much sooner, but we've both been really busy.
Yeah, life happens. I have got a job, lost a job, moved jobs, so just our availabilities have not overlapped very well.
So we're just thankful that we're able to come to you this week with this episode, and we're going to go ahead and touch on some things that might upset a lot of people.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about movies that happen in real life, like in the real world, like drama films mostly, but ones that definitely are not plausible in the least in the real world.
A lot of these are movies that we just simply couldn't. It would not happen in the real world, but it's very romantic in some of them, so it takes you to another time, another place.
Yeah,
that's never going to happen. So we chopped down some trees here, so we want to hear from you if you agree or if you disagree.
Or if there's any movies that you think would belong on this list that we forgot. Like I said, we just kind of brainstormed for a little while for the past couple of days and wrote a list, crossed it out, divvied it up, and
yeah.
I'm going to start the list off with basically all of the Fast and the Furious. There's like at least 8.
I thought there was like 400 by now.
There might be. I said there's at least 8 films in this series, and they started out, dare I say, innocent enough, where it's just like, late night illegal street racing with like a little bit of crime mixed in there, and these guys.
That's fine.
Yeah, these guys get tangled up with the wrong dudes, and they got to get out and fight for their homies and bust everyone.
They're like a family.
Yeah, it's a unit. But as the series has gone on, it's no longer just about fast cars doing crazy drifts around, each other. Now you got Vin Diesel being shot at by Jason Statham.
Yes.
Who has a grenade gun, a grenade machine gun, right? Yeah. And he's cruising around in this Lambo.
Where are they at though?
They're in a high-rise building. I should point this out. They are inexplicably in like the 40th, 50th story of this high rise, and they got to escape them being shot at. So Vin Diesel slams on the gas, drives out the window, and then goes into another high rise building that's under construction. The landing blows out the brakes. It kills the brakes on the car, so they can't stop it. So they go out of that building into another building, which finally the landing blows one of the wheels off the car, so it starts to skid around and everything, and it slows down to the point where like
both the doors rip off magically.
The doors fly. Yeah, oh yeah, it starts shedding parts. The doors fly off, and it's skidding sideways. And of course they tuck and roll and get out of there just in the nick of time, and all this other BS. And then the car goes out the window and then falls down, and I don't think it blows up. It just whatever. But all that happens, and then in another movie, a submarine, they're driving on ice, and a submarine fires upon them with torpedoes somehow, and the submarine shoots torpedoes, which are an underwater weapon, and they bust up through the ice and start riding along the ice with
keeping the same speed.
Yeah.
The propeller in the back is no longer able to work to push it through the water because it's now on top of the ice, but it's just going along with everybody else.
And then Dwayne Johnson,
The Rock.
You can't call him that. You got to pay Vince McMahon if you do.
Okay.
Friggin' Dwayne Johnson leans out from whatever car he's in, this truck, and then he pushes against the rocket.
But he also is on his feet.
Yeah.
He's just sliding like
skiing. Right. He's standing. He's holding onto the door, standing, and going God knows how fast. As fast as the rocket is sliding.
And he tells him to what?
Turn
go
the
faster.
Go faster. Turn the wheel left. And then he pushes a torpedo out of the way so it hits one of the bad guy cars. And then there's also all those scenes where like he's hanging on to the helicopter with like one bicep and all these other stupid stunts that they do. Like it's I don't know if it's intentionally becomes self-aware or if there's people out there that just think it really is just an action movie. Like, oh, these guys are so badass because look at all these things they can do. Like at a certain point, it became a parody of itself, and I don't know if they're aware of that.
I think they're fully aware. I just think the audience isn't yet, and they're like, more.
Yeah,
we're gonna have The Rock punch the moon.
We want to see him.
I'm like,
we'll see him jump the Grand Canyon and jump out halfway through and jump in another car and start that one.
And then land it perfectly and get out, and there's not a scratch on them.
Yeah, there's never a scratch on these people.
I'm going to take on a movie that is going to jump back now towards the female audience, and it's a movie that came out in 1990 and made $500 million so far. And it's a movie called Pretty Woman.
The Roy Orbison song?
The Pretty Woman by Richard Gere and Julia Roberts was the tale of a very wealthy playboy who has always had his way in anything that he wants in life, and he bumps into a prostitute who has just got a heart of gold. And they just hit it off, and they fall in love, and it's just like she shows him how to be a better person, and he gets her out of the life that she's been leading. And women across America swooned at it, and they said it was one of the most romantic movies of the 90s. Okay, she sells her body for sex. God knows how many guys she's been with, and the sexual activities that she's done. She's just like, and people are like, but she's Julia Roberts, she's beautiful. I'm like, she has no, evidently a backstory of being abused. She has no pimp that I know of besides the one that threw her out of a car at one point, but I think they cut that out of the scene. She has no addictions. Most, streetwalkers have some form of addiction to cocaine, heroin, or something like that due to the fact that they have to live every single night with the idea of what they're doing with their bodies and that they're being abused by men. But in this story, it all works out.
It completely glamorizes the act, which is
almost like it's okay.
Which don't get me wrong, I think there is legitimate avenues for sex work when it's consensual.
I just wanted to put this film in here due to the fact that it's just the idea that a person who has got unlimited resources, is handsome, can do whatever, and he's middle-aged, he's not some old like oil tycoon that can't get anybody, is going to settle for a woman who has literally sold her body to unknown men, unknown numbers of men for God knows how many years, maybe since she was a teenager, and then he's just going to be like, it's all going to be, all those emotional scars are gone, all the nightmares that she'll ever have, and maybe even beat up and left in a ditch somewhere and stuff over the years and stuff by bad people.
Yeah, because
that's all gone because she found him.
It's a very real thing that sex workers face is being abused to that degree. So, like I said, that was what caught me, was that it's not so much, not trying to delegitimize sex work. It's just that, like, the way it's portrayed in the movie is not indicative. I guess that's the whole point. It's not indicative of real life.
It put Julia Roberts on the map, and it was a huge moneymaker, and people loved the idea. And I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm just trying to say it's not realistic whatsoever.
That's not realistic. So my next pick is, I guess it features women ostensibly.
Well, this movie, that he's about to talk about, I just want to go and say it's considered a family movie.
Yeah,
but when Vinny explains to you maybe how it's not in realistic terms, you might view this movie in a totally different way, and that's what I'm hoping we do, that we ruin these movies for you.
Yeah, so the movie is Mrs. Doubtfire with Robin Williams. The movie is spun in such a way as it's like a lighthearted comedy about a husband and wife who get divorced. The wife gets full custody of the children, and so the husband just can't see them at all, but he still wants to.
Right.
So, but the mother is working full time. She needs to hire a nanny to watch the kids while she's at work. So Robin Williams sees the ad, his character sees the ad in the newspaper and applies for the job as an old woman. He knows a guy who works in the special effects biz who can, gussy him all up to look like an old woman with fake breasts and a latex mask and all. And he basically becomes Mrs. Doubtfire and introduces herself to the children.
He's tricking his ex-wife, and he's so attached to his children that he's willing to go through all this. But it's told in a very
in a very lighthearted way. There's a lot of slapstick where like he loses the mask or whatever.
He has to put the
whipped cream.
But yeah, to me it was always just kind of strange because he's saying that he loves his children so much he'd do this, and people are like, "Oh, that's a good father," but
no, it's creepy.
It's kind of deeper than that.
But it clearly is somebody who's not all there mentally, because that's how he goes and sees his children again. Is he goes to such great lengths.
He goes to a different area of his mind to make sure he's going to win. It's almost like he's going to beat his ex-wife in this because she gets sole custody. He's all like, "I'll show you."
Yeah, it's a really bizarre premise when you really break it down. It's not as it still has its funny moments because I think it was cut and edited in such a way as to make it funny, but it's creepy and that wouldn't fly in real life. So yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. No, I doubt that one. My next one is The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock, which is about ostensibly the early life of footballer Michael Orr. And it essentially, if you're not privy to the story, Michael Orr was essentially he's a very large. He's like a linebacker, right?
He's a lineman. He's
lineman.
Yeah,
okay.
He's on the line.
I get my terms.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. He's tough. He's strong, but like he doesn't excel well academically. He obviously comes from a bad side of town. He has no place to go, but he's really good at sports because at one point there's a car wreck and he protects the kid or something, and there's something like that. And so there's the woman played by Sandra Bullock says she's I think at one point she sees him doing his laundry at the laundromat and he's there by himself, and she's like, "Do you have anywhere to go tonight?" And he's like, "Why don't you come stay with us?" And they kind of adopt him metaphorically into their family so that they can take care of him and give him a chance and help him get an education and go to school. And that basically he goes and plays for the University of Mississippi, which just so happens to be the university that like the parents, the adults went to.
Yeah, they were boosters for it and they were alumni and stuff. So it's kind of
but it's really weird because the movie doesn't really tell the complete story of Michael, because they portray him as completely lost as a young child in school, troubled, flunking grades, very poor academically. But so you think it's this genuine thing of them adopting this underprivileged person from the projects, but it's like then they corral him into playing football for the school that they went to because they support it and boost it, and it's like did they really do it out of the generosity of their hearts, or did they do it because they wanted to support their school by giving them a 5-star player? You know what I mean? If you dig below the surface, it stops being heartwarming, but below the surface, I feel like there's something a little more sinister there.
That woman going into the hood and telling these rough characters,
"Oh yeah,
she stay away from my son," and I'm like, that's not no. I mean, you know your time and place in this life and stuff, and for her to get in her big SUV and drive over there across town, and she's going to tell people from a different part of the town how they're going to live their lives and who they're going to interact with, and they're going to just be like, "Yes, ma'am." There's a couple other things in the movie. He had played numerous sports before that.
They play it up like that he has no athletic prowess, and it's discovered accidentally. No, he played sports.
Yeah, he played 3 different sports before, football being one of them. So it wasn't like some just random kid that they just picked up.
He also wasn't that bad academically either.
No. So they fine-tuned the film to make it more heartwarming.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They did definitely.
They did very good things, yes.
They did a very good thing, but it makes you wonder what their motive was if you think below the surface. So,
next one, I'm going to offend the women again, I guess. Dirty Dancing.
Wow.
That came out when I was in high school, and it was a huge success.
Oh yeah.
They released a soundtrack to it that went to #1. It had a couple songs on it that went to #1, and so they released a second soundtrack, which most movies don't do that, and it sold millions. So I mean, this was a huge movie. The problem that people that don't understand is you get into the movie and you just start paying attention to what's going on in the movie, but you don't really look into the characters. The main character, played by Patrick Swayze, was a dance instructor, and it was at the Poconos or whatever. It was up in like a resort in New York, and people would go up there for the summer to relax and get away from the city and stuff. And so he was known for dating all the older women that were single. So he slept around with all these women. It was a known fact. They even talk about it in the movie and stuff. They joke with him about that, about how some of the women could only pay him with diamonds instead of cash because that weekend they didn't bring up stuff. So he was not monogamous. He was sleeping with everybody that was older. And then Baby shows up with her family, and she's a 15 or something.
She's like 14 or something.
She's like 15, 16 or something like that.
Man. Yeah.
And then during the course of the movie, of course, they start dancing together, and there's a relationship that forms, and they have sex. He's like 35.
That's a felony.
She's like 15 or 16, and he's 20 years older. And it didn't seem like any of the women that saw it at the time, or the girls, were like, dude, that's nasty. He's like a grown man and stuff. They're like, oh my God, they have such good chemistry. He eventually
all that they remember is the ending.
Yeah, and then what happens is, and the other thing that is kind of upsetting about the movie is, he eventually gets fired. He's literally fired from the only job that he's had for years of this dance instructor. So, this is in the 60s, I think 62 or 63. That's when it's supposed to take place. Where's he going to find a job? It's not like he has a college degree or anything, and that was even harder to get back then. So all he's got on his resume is, I've been a dance instructor at this resort during the summer. And now I'm fired, so I can't even use them as a reference. And I've been sleeping with all these old women. They're not going to sleep with me anymore because I don't have a job. And now I slept with this 15 or 16-year-old girl. And at the very end, he's fired, and he comes back to where they're going to have their final dance recital or whatever. And they're like not going to let him in. And people are like, let them dance. And then they have this dance to this song, and people are like standing up and cheering.
Time of my life.
And Baby's father is sitting in the corner like as though he's a good man now. Yeah, he slept with my 15-year-old, but he's a good man now. And I'm just like, I never understood how people, especially women, could not see this as he was a person taking advantage of a young girl, and he should have known better. I mean, it's not like he was like this. He never really dated, and he was just a 35-year-old nerd or something like that. He was
basically a gigolo.
He was going through all these women every single summer for years, like over a decade, maybe more than a decade. And he was sleeping with hundreds of women, maybe. And then, now he's going to be a gentleman. Now he's going to sleep with a 16-year-old and be a decent human being.
He's going to be a gentleman with a 16-year-old.
It doesn't work that way. He's a pedophile. Yeah. And the thing is, people don't like to see that. So, yes, Dirty Dancing is a movie that is a shitty movie. And that's the term. All these are shitty movies.
Shitty movies.
Shitty movies.
So the next one, I started the list off with a series. And this next one also is a series. It's Die Hard. Now I know it's an action movie like that, but
and I like Die Hard.
No, I like
most
it too.
people like Die Hard, but
I think the first.
He's going to explain
movies,
why.
Yeah, but so really, what it's about is you have. I just brain farted his name.
Bruce Willis.
Yes, Bruce Willis. His
yes.
John McClane.
Yeah,
that's what who he plays. I couldn't remember the character's name. So John McClane is like a cop who's.
He's from New York, right? He's just a New York cop.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and he's
just a regular cop.
His wife is at this gathering at the Nakatomi Plaza.
Nakatomi.
And then Hans Gruber is there, and he's you guys know Die Hard.
He doesn't have to go through the whole thing.
I don't have to. Yeah, because there's that whole meme of, well, technically it happens on Christmas, so Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Whatever. So the point I'm trying to make is that he's in the building. There's a whole terrorist cell in there with him. They've got all kinds of guns.
They're armed to the teeth.
Yes.
And they've got this all planned out. It's not like they just showed up.
They're all being taken out by one guy. Just John McClane, who's just a cop. He's not like a Green Beret. He's not military trained, not a Navy SEAL. He's not a Marine. He's nothing. He's a cop.
Not saying that they're not trained, but not like this against a terrorist squad. That's why the FBI is outside.
Yeah.
And he's inside.
He's the man on the inside talking to the guy from Family Matters.
Yep. Reginald Cleave or whatever.
Yes. I just keep calling him the guy from Family Matters. But so he's in there. He's in there getting business done. And at the very end, he's hanging off at choppers while things are blowing up and saving his wife, and then all this nonsense happens. The only realistic thing in that movie is the fact that he walks across broken glass and his feet start to bleed.
Yeah.
That's literally, it's like an Annie Lennox song. That's the only, there's like 2 people that are going to get that reference. It's the only realistic part in the movie is that walking across that is like walking on Legos and it will destroy your feet. So there's that scene with the bandages.
But you talked about the series. Now you just went through the very first movie.
I just went through the very first movie. So then there's the whole second movie where the whole climactic ending, it takes place on the plane. Then there's that climactic ending where the guys are going to get away, but there's a leak in the gas pipe, and he says, "Yippee-ki-yay, mother effer," and he lights the match and throws it and hits the jet fuel, and it catches up with the plane and blows the whole plane.
While the plane is flying.
While the plane is flying.
A flame decided to catch in the air and not get blown out during winter and catch all the way up to the plane.
During a blizzard.
Yes.
A blizzard. And it shoots up and blows up the whole plane and kills those guys. And then in Die Hard 4, which was called Live Free or Die Hard, there's one where like he's driving a Humvee and he kicks the son out of the passenger seat and he jumps out and then he Humvee hits like a road median and flies up and hits a helicopter and blows up. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, he blows it. He's like,
"You just killed a helicopter with the Humvee."
He's all right, get ready. And then he's playing this out like he's practiced at home. Like, I'm going to hit this helicopter at this certain angle at a certain speed.
He's got he just does all the trajectory in his head, all that trigonometry.
It's a New York cop for you. Yeah. It's a New York cop.
It's ridiculous how, again, it's one of those movies that already started way up here, but it's kind of like Fast and the Furious, where it got increasingly more insane. As Die Hard, it's good fun. It's a good movie. Die Hard 1, I'd say Die Hard 1 and 2 are the 2 strongest candidates, and I think there's 5 of them now, right?
At least 5.
I think
it seems like they, instead of just amping it up by notches, they were like, "Dude, we just got to go for it all."
Yeah, it's just
logarithmic. And then when each movie made more money, they're like, "Dude, we got to go even further. We got to go further and further and further and further."
Yeah, so it got ridiculous. I will say, Die Hard, the first movie, did give us something. Now, you know that I'm the video game geek. I always have that random video game knowledge. There is Die Hard for the Nintendo NES. Not a very good game, but it is the only game that I am aware of to have both a health meter and a feet meter, because as you walk, your feet meter decreases because of the broken glass.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazingly sad and amazingly awesome at the same time.
You have a health bar for Bruce Willis and a health bar for his feet, and we need to see more games with feet meters. Come on.
I want to talk about the movie Rudy. Some of you guys might not have heard the name, the movie Rudy. It came out in the 90s, I believe. It's based on the story of a guy who went to Notre Dame University, and he continually tried to make the football team. It's a very uplifting movie. A lot of people that like uplifting movies will look at this movie and say, "See, that's what you get if you never stop trying. You always work hard and stuff." It showed him as like a tackling dummy during practice, and nobody really took him seriously. And in the last game of the season, the entire team is cheering the coach and telling them, "Put Rudy in, let him play." And then the audience starts cheering Rudy, Rudy. So you have like this entire stadium of 40,000 fans yelling this one kid's name who's never played in a football game. And then you have the entire team on his side, and the coach is just like looking at him like, "I don't know if I should," and stuff. And then he puts him in for the very last play. And on the very last play, Rudy gets in there and sacks the quarterback. And it's just like everything, the culmination of going to Notre Dame and just trying to make the football team all came to a head. And Notre Dame fans it's one of the greatest movies, they think, probably next to, anything made about the Bible. The problem with the whole thing is Rudy was not a good football player. He walked onto the team. The coach had decided to play every senior in that last game. So there was no chanting by the fans. There was no chanting by the team. Predetermined. Before the game, he had told the whole team, everybody will get to play in this game. You might not get to play a whole lot, but everybody's going to get to play. That would not have worked for what they were trying to do. So therefore, they talked to the coach many years after when they were actually filming. They said, "Can we make you, quote, the bad guy?" And he said, "Yeah, I guess so. That's fine. That's not what happened. Everybody was going to play, but yeah, if you want it." So in the movie, when you see them cheering to get this kid in,
you have to have that moment.
Right. That never happened. You just said Rudy go in. And now Rudy did get in there with 2 other people and sack the quarterback, so that did happen. But the problem is this guy Rudy, he was trying to sell his life story on his one tackle in one play in his entire career. He had been at Notre Dame for a decade after that at home games trying to sell this. He was selling shirts. If you actually want to believe this man, if you go to his house, it's a museum. He's turned it into a museum of one play in one football game. That was it. But the sad thing about him is his ego drove him so hard over the years that, I mean, literally, people were like getting offended at him coming to the Notre Dame games because it wasn't what it turned out in the movie, like this good, heartwarming story and stuff. They're like, dude, this guy won't leave. Yeah, you went here. You played one play. Stop. But the way he wrote the book and he finally got it published like a decade and a half after, I mean, we're talking about it took him years to finally find a publisher that would say, okay, we'll publish this stuff. Wow, you played one snap of one football game, and you've made this your entire life.
Who made it a movie?
They bought the rights to it because they said it was uplifting.
Because of the book.
The next one I want to talk about is a movie I actually really enjoy. I enjoyed reading the book, and I enjoyed the movie. The only part is it's a movie called The Perfect Storm. If you've never seen it, it's about the fishermen out of Massachusetts and Gloucester that get lost in the perfect storm where there's like a hurricane and there's a northern and they all mix together.
Three things?
3 things combined. It was like the storm of the century, and they happen to be in a small boat out there, and they've never been found. Nothing's ever been found, basically. Excellent book by Sebastian Junger, I think it is. Read the book, fascinated by it, saw the movie, loved it. Clooney, Wahlberg, different actors.
I think John C. Reilly is in it.
Yeah, John C. Reilly's in it. So it's a really good movie. The problem with the movie is, and I'm not trying to ruin this for everybody, but I am, is that there's a part in the movie where their antenna snaps off. When the antenna snaps off, that's the last part that's known of what happened to those guys. They replied back in, yeah, we still got some rough weather, blah, blah, blah. There was nothing about waves coming to get us or anything like that. And it snapped off, and that was it.
Yeah, that's end of contact.
Right.
Everything from that point.
From that point in the movie on, anything that you see is 100% fictional.
Pure Hollywood.
None of it can be proven. The shark jumping up on the boat, the guy going overboard, the guy welding the thing, trying to weld, and he's going up and down in the waves and stuff, and the Wahlberg and Clooney moments where they're like, we're going to make it, Cap, and then he's all, no, she's not going to let us out. These are very dramatic moments and stuff, but it's all bullshit.
Yeah,
it's all fake.
That's all for the silver screen.
It's just all for us to absorb with our popcorn. We have no idea what happened to those men. They might have died 5 minutes after the antenna snapped off. They might have been out there for another 5 to 10 hours. They never found anything from the boat besides, I think, one life preserver on a uninhabited island way out there in the Atlantic. So, not to ruin the movie, but everything that you see after that antenna blows off in the storm is just pure fiction.
Because it is a good movie.
It's a very good movie. I love the movie.
But it's just
so I'm not slamming that. I'm just trying to say don't take any of that with anything of realism. It's based on a true story. After the antenna,
because obviously there was no survivors. They were never found.
Nothing was ever found. The boat was never found. No, nothing. Basically, that one thing on that island. Other than that.
All right. So the next one I have. And that's Home Alone,
which we love.
I love that movie.
Love that movie.
The whole movie could be fixed with one phone call, essentially. Like, they realize Kevin is gone, I think, when they're on the plane.
Right.
The mom realizes he's not
Kevin!
there. Kevin! That's Catherine O'Hara. She shouts that line. That's the one thing people remember from that. That and the way that Marv screams when he puts the spider on his face. It's that blood-curdling scream. But really, and in that moment, the proper course of action would have been to... I mean, the attendants are tending to her after that, because there's a scene where she's
flush and...
She's freaking out. What probably would have happened is this was an era before cell phones and all that. Before, I don't think they had the phones that Sky phone.
They might have at that
maybe,
but this is 91 or something like that, 91. So they might have had those. But
Sky phone charges $3 a minute. but
anyway,
but the captain could have, or the pilot could have radioed back to someone at the at the airport or to where their destination was They could have radioed in and had somebody make a courtesy call to the police department in that county to go to the McAllister's house and
do a welfare check on him. Yes.
Yeah, check on the kid and maybe take him to a family's place, take him somewhere safe so he's not just stuck home alone. But that doesn't happen. What winds up happening is that Kevin McAllister just sets a bunch of booby traps for a bunch of stupid cat bandits, and throws paint cans down the stairs and puts nails on the
which it's an awesome movie.
Which is hilarious.
But if the way we're looking at it is like they could have contacted somebody, you wouldn't have a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they're going to. Our listeners are going to bitch at us about that. Doing well, then we wouldn't have a movie.
Exactly, but that's the thing is that. And here's the reason why Kevin gets lost in the first place. Most people
listen to this because I totally forgot about
most people just think the family just wakes up and completely forgets about Kevin. That's not how he gets left behind. If you pay very close attention at the beginning of the movie when they're all having dinner or whatever it is, everybody has their plane tickets and their itinerary. Kevin's gets swept away into the garbage can by mistake. So his plane ticket and his itinerary is gone, but everybody else has theirs. Then the next morning, when they're all getting ready to go, the neighbor kid, who's wearing a beanie and you can't see who he is, he's rifling through all their crap, and he's being an annoying little piece of crap. And the person in charge of counting heads to make sure everyone is there to go to the airport is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they don't know that that's the neighbor kid that they just counted because they can't see who it is. They just think it's somebody. So between Kevin's ticket being accidentally thrown away and them mistakenly counting the neighbor's kid as being Kevin or somebody in the family, ipso facto, blah, 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 Kevin gets left at home. What I'm trying to say is that it all happened because of a couple of improbable events, and then once they realized he was gone, it's just one radio call to the airport from the plane, and that would have been solved.
Kid would have been safe.
Yeah.
And, okay, so I'm going to hit you with my best shot with this movie. This was released. It won a bunch of Oscars, and it's called $1 Million Baby. $1 Million Baby is based on the account of a young, poor woman who doesn't have a whole lot going for her, and she gets an old trainer played by Clint Eastwood. Hilary Swank is the boxer, and it kind of reminds you of Mick from Rocky. You know, you got this old curmudgeonly guy, and he's going to help you out and stuff, and Morgan Freeman's in and stuff. And basically, it's just her trying to find some way out of her dead-end life. Her family's not very wealthy. They don't have a lot going for them and stuff, and so she takes up female boxing. And in the movie, which broke a lot of people's hearts, and that's why it was so, people were so sympathetic to it, she is boxing a far superior athlete, and she's the underdog. And in the course of the first 2 rounds, she gets beat up pretty bad. But what happens is she comes back in that third round, and she lands some really good shots. And for whatever reason, the other boxer loses her cool, and then turns, and after the bell just goes up and just sucker punches her, and she falls down. And somebody, for whatever reason, had put the seat, the chair, whatever you call it, the stool, they laid it down sideways inside there, which nobody's ever going to do that. And she just happens to fall on it, and she breaks her. I'm sorry.
We're laughing because we're thinking of the scene from Scary Movie now.
Scary Movie 4, where like 19 people break their neck.
Everybody starts breaking their neck.
So I'm not laughing that this poor lady broke her neck, but you can't not imagine Scary Movie 4.
But it's also shot in such a way that it almost seems like a joke. Almost. It's so corny.
It's that's. But what they did in this movie is they said, how can we have this sad twist? And so they lay it on its side, which last time I checked, people don't sit on sideways stools.
I think the assumption is that he was fitting it in between the ropes and was going to put it upright.
But if you look, his hands aren't there when she hits it.
Yeah, but he's not touching it anymore.
No, it's just laying there. And after the girl hits Hilary Swank and she falls, her neck lands perfectly on the side of it and wraps around it, and then you hear a crack, like celery. And, of course, it's going to make her paralyzed, and her career's over, and her chances to make money and be somebody famous and have a great life is over. And so basically that ends her life, although she's still alive. And to me, it's one of the shittiest movies because the possibility of that happening. If you look at the entire history of boxing, you'll never hear of anything ever happening like that. So either she has the worst luck and she kind of deserved it. That sounds really bad, but like you have professional boxers that can kill human beings in the ring, and that happened to her where she just happened to fall over. Now here's the thing. Technically, by that other woman hitting her after the bell, that woman would be disqualified, and the paraplegic would now be the winner.
That's true.
With a broken neck. So she would be in her bed, and she'd be the champion. She'd have to relinquish the title, but she did win. She did technically win, but it's a shitty movie because I'm sorry.
Because doesn't the scene opens with the referee in the opponent's face saying
don't
if you do anything like that again, you're out of here or something like that.
So yeah, for her to lose it that much after the bell, go after her, hit her in the back of the head, and then for her to break her neck, it's so outlandish. And I know some of you might really love the movie, and I'm not trying to be a butthead, but it's so fictional. It's unbelievable. All right, so we're going to finish with a big ending.
Yeah, we're going to end on a slightly funnier note, something so it's not a total buzzkill. But Weekend at Bernie's.
Does anybody remember that? 87, 88?
Is late 80s.
Late 80s, yeah.
And essentially, the premise of this film is that there's Bernie. I don't remember his last name. But basically, the actor who plays him has the easiest role in all of film history. Because he just gets to play a corpse. So what happens is that Bernie is embezzling money from this company that he's the CEO of. And these two knuckleheads in the company, they figure out what's going on.
But innocently. They just see like a little bitty like blip, and they just go to Bernie to tell him. So they're just like, hey, we're trying to save somebody did something wrong, and we're just trying to save this money. They have no idea.
Not knowing it's Bernie who the blip is.
Right.
So Bernie's like, okay, these guys know they got to be whacked. So, but before that can be carried out, Bernie dies. He has a heart attack. Mm-hmm. But now these two guys are stuck with having to upkeep this. What happens if they have to upkeep the charade? Because Bernie has all these business matters to attend to, so they can't let anyone believe that he's dead.
I just remember that they're afraid that they might be held responsible for it.
That's what it is.
And they go to his weekend retreat house out on the beach.
They were the last people seen alive with him,
right?
So they think they're going to be held culpable for his death because he has a heart attack before he's able, or something like that.
Right.
So they're essentially carrying Bernie around like, with the arms over the shoulders like that, and Bernie's in the center.
And they've got the perpetual sunglasses and the hat pulled down,
and Bernie's just
he's dead. Remember this. He's a corpse.
He is dead.
So he's dead, and this is over a weekend.
Yeah.
Weekend at Bernie's. So we have a dead person.
And they're lugging him around, and they'll say, some guy on the beach like, hey, Bernie! And then like one of the guys just goes, and then he like lifts his hand up and waves to him, and Bernie just, it's basically, it's a
comedy.
There's a lot of slapstick humor about trying to keep up with this corpse, making people think he's alive, but also not losing the corpse.
I think at one point he's on the beach, like lounging, and a dog buries him in sand. And they're like, "Oh, Bernie, you're silly," and stuff. Yeah. And the thing is, he never responds to anybody else because
he's dead.
He's dead.
I don't.
And nobody picks up on that.
He has like 2 lines at the beginning of the movie. That's why I said it's the easiest acting role, because there is an actor playing Bernie. Yes. He's just limp the entire time. Like, what's my motivation? You're dead.
Yeah.
Like.
And it's a comedy, and it's a silly comedy, but the idea is, in real life,
that wouldn't happen.
This is not science fiction or something like that.
The body would start to decompose.
Yes, there would be smell.
He would turn flush. Rigor mortis would start to set in.
Yeah, after 8 to 9 hours, he'd just be like a block of concrete. Yeah. Then afterwards, the bodily fluids would be coming out. I mean, none of this happens.
He would start to swell as, the gut bacteria starts to... All of the nasty things that happen with the decomposition of a dead body should be taking place, because it's not like he was embalmed or even if he was embalmed or preserved, the body still deteriorates.
Yes.
It doesn't.
And now the funny thing that I reminded Vinny about this, because I remember watching it a long time ago, and I never could get this out of my mind, is Vinny is what again? Bernie's what again?
Weekend at Bernie's.
No. What is he?
He's dead.
He's dead. He's physically dead. And then during the course of the weekend, his mistress comes to see him, and the two knuckleheads say, "Oh, he's upstairs in his bedroom." And she's a very voluptuous woman, and she basically they just have a sexual relationship. Finish.
She comes downstairs and she starts fixing her makeup, saying, "That was the best he's ever done."
So what we're trying to get at here is that with all the different things that happen in the movie with the dead corpse and them trying to make people believe that he's just chill or drunk or something like that, and the decaying and the rigor mortis and everything that you could bring into it, his side chick, whatever you want to say, his
You said
his mistress
earlier.
she literally goes into a bedroom where he's laying dead on a bed. Now he's been dead for maybe a day.
Yeah.
And she somehow has sexual relations with him, and she's satisfied more than she's ever been
when he was alive.
And then she walks downstairs and she's gloating. She's like happy about it. Like,
"That was the best I ever had. The best."
It just blew me away as a teenager watching that. Doing, she didn't know the dude was dead. I mean, he's dead. So
here's the best part about Weekend at Bernie's, though. There's a sequel. Weekend at Bernie's 2. It tanked. It didn't do as well, but it's the same premise. They have to get Bernie out of the morgue at the beginning of Weekend at Bernie's 2. And he's still not decomposed. Still not.
See, and that's the thing. If any of you have ever seen these old movies and you're like, "Oh man, why are these two guys? Why are they going ragging on this movie? I like this movie." We're just doing it because it's not a science fiction movie. This is supposed to be
the pinnacle of unrealistic.
Yeah, when you make so much money off of a movie where a guy dies that you say, now you can't bring him back. It's not like Friday the 13th or something or Michael Myers. So he's going to stay dead, but we're going to bring back the same two dudes and put them in another role of another plot that they have to schlep this dead body around. And hopefully that same audience will come back and want to see the guy get paid to act dead again.
And that guy had an even easier acting role. Yeah, he had no spoken lines.
No lines in this second. So we covered a good amount of movies here that we're going to call the shittiest movies. We can't say ever because you guys might give us some recommendations of movies.
And also some of these movies aren't inherently shitty. They're just unrealistically shitty.
I'm sorry. I would like to rephrase that. They are unrealistically shitty movies.
Because some of them are good fun to watch.
Oh yeah,
some of them.
I would say majority. I'd say a majority of these movies we'd probably watch more than once or twice in our lives. I'm sure that there's going to be listeners on here that are going to see some of these that are like, "Man, I really like this one. I really like this one." You're going to be checking them off. And I love all these movies. And you might hate us for some of the things that we said, but some of the things are just way too unrealistic. And so therefore, we're going to say they're the most unrealistic, shittiest movies that we have covered. If you have any recommendations, though, please let us know. Okay. All right, and to end this episode, if you remember when we started last episode, which was quite a long time ago, we were going to do a new episode, a
new series,
series called "Idiot of the Week,"
or of the month, or whenever,
we get
until
around.
The next episode.
Until the next. Yeah. So, "Idiot of the Episode."
There you go.
And so last time I spoke about a young man who died on an island in the Indian Ocean, and he was an idiot. And now Vinny will have his first installment of Idiot of the Week.
Idiot of the Week. So let me ask you a question, Eric. What shape is the Earth?
I would say it's roundish. Ovalish.
Okay. What's a thing that other people commonly say that the shape of the Earth is? People who are more often than not called wrong.
Oh, flat.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Y'all are both wrong.
I'm scared because he's got a box, and I've seen the movie Seven. What's in the box?
Y'all are both wrong.
What's in the box?
I'm about to bust.
Stay away from the box.
I'm about to bust.
What's
this
in the
wide
box?
Open. The Earth is actually a cube. So you can hang on to that as I get ready to talk about this episode's. It even.
This is so wrong.
So
I'm glad I'm top. I'm on top right here. Look, North America, I'm on top. Woo!
So I came prepared. So actually, the person that I do have a spotlight on is a flat earther. His name is Mad Mike Hughes, 1956 to 2020. So he.
I think I know who
You think you know who I'm talking about?
Is this the guy with the rocket?
It is the guy with the rocket.
This guy's such a schmuck. He's such a schmuck. I watched a whole documentary on this guy. He was so stupid.
Rocket Man was the thing.
Yes.
So Mad Mike Hughes was an American daredevil and stuntman. His specialty was homemade steam-powered rockets. He was also a motorcycle racer and set a Guinness World Record in 2002 by jumping 103 feet in a limousine. So he died while filming a stunt for a Science Channel show called Homemade Astronauts. He believed in the flat Earth theory and decided once and for all to be the man to blow the lid off the conspiracy by using one of his steam rockets to go far enough up that he could take a photo of the Earth showing no curvature and that it was just a big flat disk. On February 20th, 2020, Mike Hughes boarded the rocket with the intent to ride it into suborbital space flight, approximately 5,000 feet into the air, outside of the Earth's atmosphere but not into outer space. Upon launch, the rocket's landing parachutes malfunctioned and separated from the craft during takeoff. The crash landing destroyed the rocket and killed Hughes. Post-crash, any truths he may have learned about flat Earth that day, he took to his grave, which he conveniently dug himself when his rocket collided with the ground at approximately 350 miles an hour. The ship made it to approximately 1,800 feet, over 3,000 feet short of its height goal. Post-crash, Hughes' PR representative insisted Hughes was not a flat earther and that they were just using the flat earth community to fund their project. So he was either an idiot or a scumbag or both. In any case, one thing he certainly wasn't was a rocket scientist. Well, would you like to hear some choice quotes from the late Mr. Hughes to summarize his...
Yes, to end this episode, we'll hear from a man who took his own life with his own dream.
Yep. I believe the Earth is a different shape than what we are taught in those programming centers called the public school systems. The edge of the Earth, which keeps all of the oceans in, is a 150-foot ice wall, which is Antarctica. How they know it's that tall, I have no idea. I don't believe anyone can convince me the world is round because they have no proof.
So I hope that you enjoyed episode 38. I hope that you'll subscribe, like,
and
share,
comment if you have any opinions of our thoughts on the movies, or like I said, or if we missed some that you think should have been on the list. Let us know.
If you want to talk about anything in current events, if you want to talk about music, if you want to talk about politics, religion, we cover it all, man. We cover it all.
We'll try.
But anyways, we are back, and I'm sorry that it's been so long and stuff, but we promise to go and do this more often.
Yeah, that life, sometimes people don't think it'd be like it is, but it do.
It do.
It do
So,
be like that.
For Eric,
I'm Vinny.
we're the Jewel Pirates. Peace out.
Peace out.